For me, there was a really quick sense that our lives would never be the same. I think I knew deep down that all those hopes and those expectations I had had for what our lives and our future would look like were going to be changed. We often have those times in our lives, those lines of demarcation after which nothing will ever be the same. And for me, that happened on April 21st, 2008.
I had what's called an arterial venous malformation, which is a condition in your brain that you're born with. It's congenital. And it grew and grew, and one day it ruptured. And when I was 26 years old, I had a massive brainstem stroke and nearly died. God saved my life, and in so doing, a lot was taken away. Life was wonderful before the stroke. I just had a baby, James, 6 months before, and we were living on the beach in Malibu. Jay was in law school, and life was fun and easy, and we loved our church. We're deeply plugged into our community there, and we're just really living out our wildest dreams.
I was concerned because Catherine had felt a little strange that morning, and I went to the other room as my son was taking a nap, and I was working on a paper, and I heard Catherine cry out. I ran to her side, and she was collapsed onto the ground and non-responsive, so I called 911, and the paramedics quickly came and realized she needed to be taken to a hospital immediately, and she was wheeled out on a stretcher from that place we had called our first home, and she would never return again there. An AVM, it's called, and it's a very rare condition that Catherine didn't even know she had until that moment when it finally ruptured. And the pressure building in her brain was so great that there was almost no chance for her to survive. And in that moment, having this idyllic, perfect life with so much hope and expectation for our future turned upside down was soul-shaking. I looked around that waiting room and I was surrounded by my community, and I knew that the Lord was present.
Around 1 or 2 hours after finishing the surgery, I received a call from the nurses of the ICU, and I was expecting the worst. But the nurses were absolutely surprised. They were calling me because Catherine was following commands. They were asking her to show 2 fingers, and she was doing that. And I couldn't believe it. Normally that doesn't happen to patients that undergo a surgery of this magnitude. So I ran to the ICU to see her, and she was following commands, and that was the first of many miracles that happened with Catherine.
Waking up after over 7 weeks without knowing what had happened to me, I was in this weird new world. My body wouldn't work and I was trapped. It was awful. I couldn't walk, I couldn't eat, I couldn't speak, I couldn't understand anything about this new life. It was horrible and shocking, and my sweet baby was suddenly being taken care of by other people and brought to me to visit now and then. It was like nothing anyone should have to go through. Losing my motherhood was perhaps the saddest and hardest thing above all other issues I faced throughout my ordeal. Before the stroke, I was able to have 6 months and 5 days of just pure joy with James. I was just a happy mother enjoying new life with the baby.
You know, LA could seem like a crazy place to stay once having this little surprise and keep living here, but we feel like we're just part of the family and that we're raising him not just with one set of mommies and daddies, but with so many. So, I'm still emotional. I'm not pregnant anymore.
Once the stroke happened, I was not able to really engage my son. I was not able to be much of a mother at all. No one should have to face that. It was the deepest sadness of all my struggles, was knowing that he's growing up without his mommy. And she's in there, but she can't take care of him. Now today, while the picture looks different, I'm there, I'm with him, and I'm able to take care of him again. And it is the greatest joy in all of this, is knowing that I can be his mommy again. Even today, almost 6 years later, things are still very difficult. My body is very, very messed up. Likely will be every day of this life. And yet, I'm a picture of what everyone feels. For instance, you don't have to have had a stroke and have a paralyzed face to question issues of beauty. We have been very blessed to suffer greatly at a young age because it informs the way we live the rest of our life.
Future is definitely uncertain, but whose isn't? We're living out a picture of what, if we're all honest, each of our lives looks like. We don't know what tomorrow will hold, if it will be the best day of our life or the last day of our life. Our circumstances and the storms that might surround our lives are not nearly as important as our turning our eyes towards Him. And in that dependence, in that trust, in that tension between an all-powerful, loving God and a broken world, we found hope. And in that hope, we found our identity.
We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. It enters the inner sanctuary behind the curtain.